different countries everybody's from. Everyone's happens. We are all one. Just look at the screen. It's just amazing. Just amazing. I think I gave you some really early and I bet you've been up all night every night working on it. And I also bet there's half of you forgot what it was. So, for a few of you who did remember what it was, I'd like to take a few minutes and listen to you about what you noticed when you practiced listening. And I would especially like to know if anybody actually did listen to someone they don't like. And if you remember, I added that at the end. I would like to know how that went. Anyway, if anybody has any listening stories about this week, I would love to hear them.
So raise your little digital hands and then I'll pick you and then you can share your story or share your insight or experience. Okay, first one, Andre.
Yes, good morning. I think here it is morning. I'm by the name Andre Lutula Lefis. I'm from Kenya as a refugee here in Kakuma. So, first of all, I can say thank you to be part of this wonderful forum. And I was connected by my brother here. So, he's the one who linked me to be here. So, I want to learn more about what you are teaching people in three principles, especially here in Kakuma. More people need knowledge because we came from different countries and people they don't know how they can be and they come because there is so many difficult things. But I'm working with a community-based organization called Social Action Center for Vulnerable Individuals, where we used to help our colleague refugees by different activities. I think, like my brother said, next year we are going to, to improve this knowledge to another community members in our different communities. So I want to know more about the principle so that maybe I can go back to my community to teach others. Maybe what I can still request is to be with you, to link, to have connections, especially if there is some information about how we can support refugees. Maybe I'm here, I'm here for you guys, and I will learn more about the principle. Thank you.
Thanks, Andre. You've come to the right place.
I bet there are lots of refugees that you see that would love to be just listened to.
Hmm.
So I'm glad you're here.
Michaela.
Hey, Nikon, Mavis, and Azul, everyone. I would like to share what the experience of listening to someone that I didn't like. I didn't know that I didn't like them. And it wasn't anything about that. It was totally receiving them and it was good. And then in a challenging situation, it kind of I was responding to what they were doing. And unbeknownst to me, they were responding to something that I had said earlier, which I didn't really understand what I was saying. So it started with a misunderstanding. But I didn't know that at the time when I was actually really feeling angry and what is going on here and why is this happening? And then finally I just said, stop. And then it's like, how can we do this differently? And they responded to finding a solution of how we could do it differently. That felt better for all involved. And then when anyways, so that was happening. And then in the meantime, I went back to the person who originally received me into this situation. And I said, that was traumatic. But we're doing something different. And then in that learned about the original misunderstanding. And it's like, oh my gosh, that was me. I said yes to that. I didn't really understand what I was saying yes to. And it's just like, not that. I don't want that. But it was interesting to see how it felt good until I could see what was happening. And I was like repelling that, like against that. But my feelings were towards this person. And it's like, I can see how, I mean, it wasn't a place for argument or anything like that. But it was like, I could see how arguments, any kind of against each other can happen so innocently. And it's just like, let's just hang on here. What's going on? So that was really eye-opening.
Wow.
And then hearing, like there was so much hearing that happened because then my family was involved and I had to fess up to that too. I am so sorry. I agreed to this, but I didn't understand what I was agreeing to. And the lady who had the conversation initial, she felt awful. And we were both taking ownership for the miscommunication. So in the end, it was like beautiful. There was hugs and, tears and all of that. So yeah, it's really amazing to see what happens when you can just listen differently and get curious, like and speak. Like if I wouldn't have said, wow, that was traumatic, and we may not have had this conversation, I could have very easily walked away feeling resentful. And anyway, and none of that happened. I was honest.
Honesty works.
Honesty works. Yeah.
It's amazing what happened before you noticed something off, and when you noticed something off, everything changed. I'm assuming, I'm trying to find you on the screen again. I can't find you. I'm assuming you felt something was off and stopped.
Yes. Yes.
That's what happens. We can feel when we're listening in a way that isn't going to go anywhere. And we put the brakes on. That was such a perfect story. I just love it. I bet you do too.
I do.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Thank you.
listening.
Oh, thanks for the story. Wow. Maybe you could get all the leaders of the world together and explain the whole thing to them.
No biggie, Michaela. Just a small.
That's your homework for next week. Right.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Belle from Byron Bay.
Thank you. Listening to Michaela, I realized, yes, I do have to share because yesterday I am from Byron Bay and I'm currently in Berlin visiting my dad, and so I have to do a postal vote. And suddenly on the ballot, there was a whole party missing. And I was like really puzzled. That only happened, I think, in the last 2-3 weeks. I'm not sure entirely when it happened, but I had this ballot to vote and not all the parties were on there. And I talked to my dad, and I didn't feel very much listened to. And I listened to him in a way that now in hindsight, I realize I had a tendency sometimes to listen, but not always. I thought it had passed, but it was still there. So I reacted and wasn't speaking. I was expressing something in a not very nice way. And so he left the room and shut the door into his bedroom. And I carried on with the thing for the voting. And I was very stressed over the whole voting thing. And he had also said something to me that I felt a little bit guilty of already, but I didn't really want to own up to that. In any case, when I had finished all my voting business and I had reasonable peace with that, I was like, I need to go to my dad, check in. And I went in to listen, to just, I didn't, part of me didn't really want to, but the other part wanted to. So I went in to listen and I sat down and said, so how are you? And my dad just shared how he felt. And that was a very nice experience because I had never really gone in to listen. And I had not had this kind of exchange with him before where he shared with me how it made him feel, what I said. And so I had the opportunity to apologize, to share that I didn't mean to hurt him or make him feel awful. And then we had a short exchange where I said that I was just also, so I asked him, so I can not share how I feel. And he said, yes, but it wasn't a nice tone. And so I heard that. And then, I don't know, we said something else. And then it just transpired. I'm so sorry, I didn't expect to be crying. It transpired that my dad took it that I think that he loved me. And I realized that I wasn't listening from that he loves me. I was listening from I'm not good enough, and because I hadn't really followed politics all much in my community. It's only a small community vote. But I had on some level felt guilty that I didn't really know enough about the situation that had arisen. And I just felt from that I wasn't good enough. And I was listening from this being criticized point of not being good enough, rather from that actually all the things that he said to help me, because he could see I was really stressed. And so he was saying, oh, it's only one vote, as in, don't get too worried, it's not gonna make a big harm. But I didn't hear it's not making a big harm. I heard your vote doesn't count, you are not important. And my willingness to listen to my dad showed that to me, that is where I listen from, and I don't want to listen from that anymore. And I think I do it in more situations. Like, I think I do it in other situations where people are close to me, where it's important to me what they think of me. And I don't want to do that anymore. And because I had the willingness to go and listen to my dad, it came up and I saw it, and I'm very grateful for that. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. I know as painful as all of that was, it does also sounds like an amazing gift. You're very brave to tell us that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Oh, aren't human beings wonderful?
Yeah.
Oh,
We'll go to one more and then we have a breakout room exercise. All right, Peter.
take one more.
Thank you, Nikon. And first of all, I want to say thank you to Michaela and particularly to Belle for the sharing. I had an experience yesterday. I was on site with a client company and I bumped into a guy that's been a client of mine who I found challenging. I wouldn't go as far as to say I didn't like him, but I certainly found him challenging. But I was bearing in mind our homework, Mavis. So I just stopped and had a chat with him. And to my amazement, he seemed like a different character. And it was not lost on me that how I was showing up in the conversation was very different. He told me, it's 3 years since we worked together, he told me he's grown a lot and developed a lot in the meantime. But I was kind of smiling to myself, thinking, I've got plenty of growing and learning to do, and how much easier a conversation becomes if you come from this place. So I left my work yesterday thinking, great, I'm on track. I've done my homework. Serious mistake. I went home then and I had a chat with my wife. And I don't just like my wife, I love my wife. But my wife had some things to say that I didn't like the sound of. So if I go to your 4 types of listening last week, Mavis, I sure as hell got into evaluating. And then to make it even worse, I paid full attention to the negative evaluations and I got completely lost. It's like a big black hole opened up and I disappeared into it. And the only way I could save myself was to shut up, because I knew if I said anything, it wouldn't be good. And then to come back to my wife subsequently and just give her a hug. Because I've come to realize that sometimes words are overrated. So that is my little couple of experiences.
Wow, you tried everything.
Wow. Peter can't sit. I can sit. Every guy in like the squares was like, yep, been there too. Beautiful. Thanks for sharing.
Oh, thank you for
Great
that.
story. What if I can comment? I love that because it shows like this isn't a tool that, okay, I got it. I understand. Next. It's something you see deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And not seeing like there's more to it, but you see the simplicity of it in different ways. That's what occurred to me.
And just one thing to add, Nick, on which Belle's sharing really helped me see. When I was getting caught in that conversation with my wife, I was listening from the not good enough place, and that was compounding the challenges. And that was part of the black hole I disappeared into. The hug was the way of climbing out of that. I just thought I'd add that.
Thank you.
It's that simple.
It's that simple.
It's I don't know how to get better at anything other than to practice until I can see what works and what doesn't. And in the art of deep listening, your feeling is telling you what's working and what isn't. There's no figuring out, no analyzing, nothing. It's just, we are made so beautifully. And we can tell when we're using our divine design in the way it was meant, and we can tell when we're misusing it by how we feel. It's so simple, but it's deep and it's profound and it's true. And these classes are to help us realize we are a big deal. We are really made well. And we just didn't know it. That's not our fault. We just didn't know it. But we're starting to see it. So Are you ready for more practice? Say yes.
Yes.
Okay. Um, last time we ended with you having a conversation about someone in your life that you thought was a good listener and how that goes for you. And this time we would like you to, same rules apply in the breakout rooms, and I'll have Azul explain that to you in a minute. But I would like you to have a conversation about what it feels like to not be listened to. I'm so glad you all end up coming back, because I imagine there's just some big ditch out there that you could fall into and we'd never see you again. But here you are. That's how much I know about technology. So, my question is this time, what did you notice about your listening this time?
Raise your little digital hands and I'll call on you. You can share. Eva.
Yes, hi. When I left the last time, I thought, I'm not getting this. I'm really not getting this. And I realized I was trying too hard to get it.
Been there, done that.
So just trying really to listen what's going on underneath the words. And I realized I wasn't even listening. I was trying to listen to, well, I don't know what it is. So this time I was more patient with myself. I was more loving. I have also practiced this being caring for myself, my heart for me, to me, last week. And I just kind of noticed now, okay, now I did that. Now I'm here. And sometimes I heard, oh, I know this. And just being aware that, okay, it just fired up in that moment. And I thought about just being here, just not trying to feel anything, not trying to hear anything, not trying to remember anything. So if you ask me to say something about what's being said, I don't know. I don't know. So it's a difference. I notice a difference. And I've also noticed a difference last week talking to people with listening. So it's a huge difference.
Even, what I love about what you just said is that you were trying to be kinder and more loving to yourself.
Mm.
What a good idea. It's really hard to hear anything when we're beating ourselves up for not being good enough. It's like if all you saw was that showing up is good enough,
Mm-hmm.
that's it. Just show up, be yourself. That's more than enough for anything.
But I haven't thought that for
I know,
an adult life. Mm.
but now you can.
Mm.
Yeah.
I know it's easy to do it with children. For me, it's easy to be with children and just be, but it's been more difficult with the adults because I
Well,
thought I had to give something back to prove that I understand them. I've heard what you have said. So this is nice to come into that space that it's okay just to be
Yeah.
there, be here.
Yeah.
And I must say that earlier today, I just had a realization. I was going to the market to buy some supplies, and suddenly it occurred to me, I am good enough.
Oh, absolutely. What a wonderful thing to know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just about believing it, it's knowing it. That who we are is more than enough. The universe took care of that. We don't have to make ourselves into a worthy person. That's all taken care of. Thank you, Eden. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Thank you so much.
Next up, we're going to go to Greg. Hey, Greg. Greg.
Hello. Hi.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. Good to see everyone here. I was a little late today, sorry, but I'm glad to be here now. And I just wanted to reflect a little bit about something that came up in our group discussion in our breakout room that I thought was interesting is that sometimes we're in a situation where we're being listened to or supposedly listened to, and we think we either feel or think or both that we're not being listened to, and then but an interesting question arises: is that coming from me, or is that coming from the other person? Like feeling like you're not being listened to, is that could that be coming partly from myself, like an old habit of feeling like I'm not being listened to? Or maybe it's true that the other person is lost in their own thinking and they're not deeply listening to me, but what do I do with that? Like, do I spin a lot of thoughts about it and what it means, or do I start to just listen to myself?
So let me see if I can make it simple. I can tell when I'm not being listened to. I can feel it, but I can also feel then the meaning I'm making of not being listened to. I can I can say, oh, I'm not worthy, or oh, they're a jerk, or whatever. But I can take it personally, or I can just say, oh, they don't know how to listen. My choice. I can make it a problem, or I can just realize if they knew how to listen, they would. It has nothing to do with me. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So can I ask you in this time in the breakout room, what did you notice about your listening this time?
I noticed that that I had I had an intention to listen, and I had a eagerness to experience what it would be like to listen more deeply. And I had a desire to connect with the people that I was listening to, and I also had thoughts that would intrude upon that sometimes and get in the way. and I would notice myself not always listening. I would notice myself going off into my own fantasy world for a few seconds, and then I'd try to bring myself back, and then I'd notice that, and it was like it's like a play. It's like a I thought of I connected something that you said once where I was with you in another workshop, when you said what was it? I think you said you just have to realize that you're stronger than your habits.
Mm.
And so I think I sort of connected that to listening, is like that I can realize that my power to listen is stronger than my habits of wanting to think about things and stuff. But I'm still practicing it. Like I'm not really there yet, you know, like I mean, I have a long way to go, but I think
Greg,
that
that's
just
not true. That's not true. I'm still practicing. And when I'm listening, thoughts come into my head that have nothing to do with anything. That doesn't matter because I notice it. And then when I notice it, I come back. And then it happens again and I notice it. And then I come back. Happens again and I know it. That's it. That's it. All it is, deep listening is just a stance or a decision. It's like, okay, I'm gonna make what this person is trying to get across to me more important than all that noise in my head. And I remake that decision every minute. That's all it is. If it is possible to get to where I'm constantly the world's best listener, 24 hours a day, I I I don't have much time left, and I'm not even close. So that's all it is, this moment to moment thing. And you said this really cool thing. You said I was eager to be a better listener. That's all it takes. We're just showing you how it works. You notice the feeling, you come back. You notice you went off somewhere over there, you come back. You notice, you come back. That's it. And that's what you're doing. You don't have a long way to go. You have as much time as I do, which is right now.
I like that. Thank you.
I don't blame you. I like that too.
Yeah, you guys get to meet sassy Mavis today. But Mavis, if I can add to that, I'm so happy you said that. Maybe voicing something we all think like, oh, Mavis knows how to listen deeply all the time. But for you to say that you're still practicing, I was like, okay, if Mavis is still practicing how to listen, like what a great thing to know. Like that's I'm so happy to know that Mavis is still practicing to listening. I've let myself off the hook.
Well, you want to also know that I have bad moods.
Yeah, yeah.
I can get real cranky. I can do stupid things. I can feel bad about myself. I can feel judgment. I do everything everybody else does. I just getting better and better at noticing when I'm being myself and when I'm listening to some stupid thinking. But it's a moment to moment thing. All I know for sure is that I and everyone else am good enough. That's enough.
Thanks, Greg.
Yeah.
All right, next up, we're going to go to Serenity.
Hello. I feel like good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Mavis, to say to you, thank you very much. And for you now to say about notice my listening, I know that when I went into the room, it was very much in that headspace of what I needed to say about not being listened to, but really being able to just fall into it of listening to someone else. And they had nice comments to say back to me, which is pleasant. But I was also able to describe to them and to be able to say, for me to sit still and be present and really listen becomes very close. I spent a lot of my life in the past in like a freeze state. You know, they say fight or flight, and then you have freeze or fawn. Freeze has been my go-to. So sometimes sitting and really paying attention and being in that moment feels like it's on a fine line to the freeze. Does that make? I hope I'm able to describe this right. But then it's being aware whether I'm with the person listening and feeling, or whether I'm listening but I'm closing down and shutting off to myself. It just, yeah, I don't know. So I think I'm saying it of whether you've heard of this or other people have had this experience. It's just
Are you like a lot of us fairly familiar with fear?
oh yes.
Okay. So could I tell you what fear actually is?
Yeah.
It's going to sound kind of ridiculous. Is that okay?
No, no, I'm all ears.
Okay. Fear is a sensation that lets you know you're using your imagination to scare the hell out of yourself. Okay. So it's kind of the divine design. It's like love in disguise. It's like every time you misuse your imagination, if you feel scared. And if you didn't know that's what it was, you would scare yourself about being scared. But it's that simple. It's like this is an often used analogy, but when you when you touch a hot stove, isn't it handy that it hurts so much you can't leave your hand there? So wouldn't it be cool if we knew that when we were feeling afraid, it's supposed to hurt so much you can't leave your attention there? It's on your side. Every sensation has your back, including fear. Now I tell you, right? I would have liked to have known that a lot sooner too.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for
very much.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you.
It's helpful to me, and I'm assuming it's helpful to most of us. Is there anyone else who would like to talk about how they listened this time? Okay.
Mavis, I think Ada, she was looking to share something and then she might change her mind. would you like to share with us? Because you made a very interesting comment in the chat too.
Yes, thank you. This has brought several things up for me. The the first thing was what I was real when I was imagining what it's like to not be listened to, and what am I feeling when that happens. I realized I feel afraid. So what you just said, Mavis, about fear was right there for me. But what I realized that when someone's not listening, I feel afraid, and I feel like I'm being put in a little box, and I get very scared and react as if something's happening to me and I'm really scared. So I start to say it louder with more, it starts to become this imperative that this person hears what I'm saying, and I get all, and I thought it was interesting that it might be a really, really old fear when you're little and you're not listened to, that it might be a really big deal, life and death, sort of feeling, and that I am still responding like that when someone isn't listening to me. My response is like some kind of life and death, that must listen. So that was one thing that I noticed. The other thing I noticed is that when I feel not listened to, what's going on in my head is so loud I can't even see them. I like they almost disappear. Like I don't even realize what is happening for them, that they can't hear me. And I can't even look over there. Something must be happening on their side, that they're putting up some kind of wall or it feels like a wall for me. And I don't even have the confidence to stop and just be curious about why they can't listen, because there might be a really good reason.
They don't know how.
They might not know how, but the other thing was, the comment that I made in the chat was that, this is so hard for me to like, and keep coming back and to like be present, and like my attention goes and comes back, that if they're not doing it that well right now, maybe that's okay. Maybe it's actually so hard that I'm expecting them to be there for me, and I can't even be there for them.
You're on to something, that they're doing the best they know to do at the moment, and it has absolutely zero to do with you.
Yes. And they might come back. Like,
They might.
I'm coming in and out. Even this entire conversation, I wrote in the chat. I wasn't listening when I wrote in the chat, So I'm like noticing how I'm tuning in and out and in and out. I'm over here and I'm over, like to be actually here is such a high state and I'm expecting them to be there all the time.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah.
My daughter, who's been around this understanding for forever, she has this thing. If she meets somebody that just doesn't know how to listen, she just says, "Oh, okay, well, the lights are on, but nobody's home." She just doesn't care. She just sees, "Oh, that's what's going on." She doesn't throw them away, but in a lot of instances, people who don't know how to listen yet have a really powerful belief that they need to be heard themselves all the time. So that's their primary goal. It isn't to hear somebody else, but it isn't that they even know that. I didn't know how to listen for the first 40 years of my life. That's not my fault. Doesn't mean there's something wrong with me. I just didn't know something that I know now. When babies, little little 1 and 2-year-olds, they know when somebody's listening to them and they're not, and they will say, "Mama, Mama, what? Mama, Mama, what?" And they'll climb up on your lap and they'll take a hold of your head and they'll hold it there till you show up. They know when you're actually listening to them and when you only say you're listening to them. They know. And if they still can't get you to listen, they'll go and do something naughty to get your attention. Smart.
Smart. That is so smart to
Mhm.
advocate for yourself, to help them focus. Hey, I need your attention now. Maybe you could do something to help them, like, hey, you know, come here for just a second.
The bottom line is, if somebody doesn't know how to listen to you, it has nothing to do with you. Don't take it personally. Well, you can if you want to, but that hurts. Just I think I said last week at the beginning, and I really mean this. As you learn to let go of all the noise in your head and you just decide you're just going to listen to another human being until you can feel what's in their heart. When you're doing that, you are teaching them how to listen. And they may not get it right away, but they will remember what it feels like to be listened to. They will remember. Which leads me to thank you, Ada, and which leads me to ask you all to give us just a one-word answer to how does it feel to be listened to? How does it feel?
Maybe it could be like easier if everybody like writes that word in the chat so we can have the list already written and we can read it through. Is that okay,
Great.
Mavis? Okay.
Great.
So they are saying loved, whole, recognized, nurturing, loved, radical, alive, connected. In Spanish, maravilloso, which means wonderful. Integrated, loved, intensive, easy, connection, seen, loved, alive, appreciated, connected again, complete, home-like, understood, loved, taken care of, relief, expanding, connected, loved, taken care of, warm, safe, seen, acknowledged, free, welcoming, caring, valued, unity, at home, unique, recognized, safe, appreciated and loved, alive, important, beautiful, valued. Magical, worthy, connected, listened, valued.
Isn't that amazing? The simple act of a human being actually listening to you feels like all of those things. So my next question is, do the same, one word descriptions of what it feels like to not be listened to.
Do you want to read those, Nikon?
Yeah. Small, alone, invisible, disconnected, frustrating, exhausting, lonely, frustrating, dismissed, enojada, wrong, non-existent, ignorado, frustrada, disconnected, unloved, frustrated, not important, separado, yeah, try, non-worthy, impotente, don't valued, quedado separado, valueless, ignorada, invisible, rejected, suppressed, delusion, disheartening, put in a box, unloved, rejected, uninspired, not enough, not existing, shut out, small, disappointing, not good enough. Little, sad, very unimportant, unworthy.
So the thing about those feelings, those feelings of being unworthy and unloved and uncared for and disrespected and so forth, those feelings are coming from the meaning we're making of not being listened to. It is important to know that nobody else can make you feel badly without your permission. Nobody. It sure looks like it, though, doesn't it? The illusion is, well, if they would just listen to me, I would feel better. That's a kind of a common contract we sign with ourselves that we didn't know. And the contract reads like this: I can't feel better unless someone that I value listens to me in the way I want to be listened to. Do you really want to wait for that? Do you really want to wait to enjoy your moment until somebody else learns how to listen? If you took that to your attorney, they'd say, "You want to sign this?" Well, you didn't even know you had signed it. But you can know that nobody gets to decide how you feel. No one gets to decide whether you love yourself or you don't. No one gets to decide whether you feel worthy and respected and valued. Babies don't come into the world feeling badly about themselves. They're not like laying in their cribs thinking, "Oh man, I'm bald. This is not going to work out well." Or I'm the wrong color. Or my parents don't have enough money. And by the way, look at these clothes I got on. Are they ridiculous or what? Babies come into the world full of a natural feeling of worthiness. It isn't something they think. It's an innate feeling of well-being. Now, that doesn't mean they don't cry when they're hungry or hurt or something, but they come into the world with everything they need. But we learn to give away the power of feeling the way we want to feel to outside things like other people's thoughts, circumstances, situations, whatever. We just get taught to do that. But we don't have to keep doing that. We can learn that that's just a bad habit we picked up from some people who had bad habits. And we can see that the way we feel about ourselves is optional. Nobody else gets to decide that. On the other hand, the feelings that we have from being listened to is an organic feeling of oneness with the whole. Some of you may be feeling that now, that your minds may be clear of confusion, clear of trying to figure something out. You might be feeling who you really are. You might be feeling connected to people you've never met in your life without knowing anything about them. You can feel the oneness. It's not an intellectual process. It's who we are, all of us. And it's only a thought away. So the choice is, what would you rather feel in this moment? And if you are with someone and you're listening to them, how would you like to leave the conversation feeling? It's your choice. It's nobody else's. I am so grateful I got to know that, because I used to sign away my state of mind to pretty much anything on the outside that came along. The weather, the circumstances, my bank account or lack thereof, how my kids were feeling, what I saw when I looked in the mirror. I'd sign it away for anything. I didn't know I was doing that. I just thought that my feelings were coming from the outside of me, that circumstances and situations and other people were creating my well-being or lack of it. That is a huge mistake that I didn't know I was making. And I'm fairly sure I wasn't alone in that. We are everything we need to be. We already are. That's taken care of. And we either know that or we don't. But we can feel when we don't know that. We can feel even if we just forgot it for a minute and are being mean to ourselves with our own thinking. I know I'm probably not the only person that occasionally does that, but it's optional. Listen to your feeling. Listen. It tells you everything about the quality of the experience you're creating in this moment. That is the handiest app ever. It's just astonishing that 24/7, our entire life, there's a feeling that lets us know the quality of the experience we're creating this moment. Wow. And all of our suffering is because we don't know that. I want to give credit to who first said that. The Buddha said that. We are all enlightened. And all of our suffering is because we don't know that. I want to express my gratitude for you all for listening to me. And I want to thank you all for the chance to listen to you. It's my favorite thing. And go out and start an epidemic. You wouldn't believe how many opportunities you're going to have to do that. But you can start even when you're alone, just listening to yourself with compassion and love and respect. You deserve it. That's all I got to say about that.
Thank you, Mavis. I would like to also say that in order to help us to start this movement of listening, just be aware that you can offer your own deep listening workshop. You already have been there. You have the poster. We can send you even more resources. You might think, hey, how I'm going to offer this workshop? You know, I'm having challenges listening. Well, then it's even a better idea to offer a workshop, because the more you teach, you know, the more you get to learn yourself, the more you practice. And it's really simple. And if Mavis said, you know, that she keeps practicing, hey, we are all practicing. So feel absolutely free to share the recording of this workshop with whoever comes to your mind. Use the recording to create your own workshop and start sharing this with whoever comes to your mind. We truly are doing this as a way of adding a little bit of love to the world, the way we know. And we would absolutely love that you also do this if you feel like. And if you have any technical challenge questions, feel free to send us a message and we will help you. Okay?
Don't
We
send
are all working together.
that one to me. Don't send that one to me.
Thank you for being here. Thanks for taking the time in your week. Thanks for practicing the homework. Thanks for showing up, being real and honest about everything you're experiencing. And the room is filled with this love coming from all around the world. And it's just amazing. Like, it's really touching. Thank you. Nikon.
Thank you.
Yeah, what Azul said. I think, this is our second time doing this global free deep listening workshop. And every time I see something new, I see a little bit more, I see more simpler, my listening gets better. I'll share my takeaway from this workshop is I realize I can't control whether people listen to me or not, but I can just do the best I can to listen. And how cool is that? And as you were typing the way, what it feels like not to be listened to, even though I can't control how other people feel or whether they listen to me or not, I realize I want no part in people feeling poorly because I didn't listen. Like, I don't want to do any harm. And knowing that I have a say in that is such a profound feeling of responsibility and gratitude that, wow, I have something to say in helping someone's day be a little bit better because I listened to them in every single interaction. How beautiful is that? I'd like to give gratitude to Mavis and Azul for having the best party on the planet, for throwing the best party on the planet. And like Azul said, we'd love for you guys just to spread this as far and wide as you can. Me being in Asia, I will do my best to, and hopefully next year we'll have more people from this part of the world join us. So it's definitely a group effort. Thank you.
Thank you, Nico. You're always welcome to the party that you also create. Thank you, everybody. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Enjoy your listening. Enjoy whatever shows up in the present moment. Thank you, Mavis. We love you.
Love you.